Today in class we discovered the formula for the area of a circle. Hopefully you're remembering that formula as well as the one we learned yesterday about circumference so that you're ready to do your homework tonight. Please make sure you've completed page 6 and then correct it with this caption. What is the formula for circumference of a circle? Circumference is the distance around a circle. And yesterday we explored the relationship between the diameter and the circumference. And we talked about how you could multiply the diameter times pi to find the circumference. So if I want to solve for circumference, I'm going to do diameter times pi. A juice can is about 2.5 inches in diameter. What is its circumference? Let's use our formula for circumference. C equals diameter times pi. So C equals, the diameter is 2.5, times pi, we're going to use 3.14 as an estimate. And so as we calculate that here, 2.5 times 3.14, we get 7.85, and this is in inches. What is the formula for area of a circle? Well, I'm hoping you remember today that area is pi times the radius squared. We talked about how you could fit pi radius squares inside of a circle, any circle. So pi times the radius times the radius. A juice can is about 2.5 inches in diameter. What is its area? So we're still talking about that same juice can, but now we want to find area. So area equals pi r squared. It's always great to write out the formula. We know the diameter is 2.5, but what's the radius? Well, the diameter would be the whole distance across here as 2.5. So looking at the radius, we're going to cut the diameter in half, and that would be 1 25/100. So now we can plug it into our formula. So area equals pi 3.14 times the radius 1.25 times the radius 1.25. And so now we're going to get 3.14 again times 1.25 times 1.25, and we've got 4.91, 4 and 91/100ths, and this is in inches, and since it's in area, we're talking about 2 dimensions, so inches squared. Now, if you did the calculation and you found the same answer as circumference, let's say you found 7.85, then you might have accidentally done 3.14 times 1.25 times 2. Sometimes people forget that radius squared means to multiply the radius by the radius, and they try to just multiply by 2. But if you had done that calculation, you would have found 7.85, which would have matched with the circumference. So make sure when you find the circumference and the area of a circle, you shouldn't be finding the exact same measurements. If you get the same thing twice, it's possible that you actually just multiplied the radius by 2 and found the diameter again, instead of actually finding a radius square. A pizzeria sells 3 different sizes of pizzas. The small size has a radius of 4 inches, the medium size has a radius of 5 inches, and the large size has a radius of 6 inches. We're going to go through and complete the table. Let's start with the radius column, since they gave us that information. So we already know the radius for the small pizza is 4 inches, the medium pizza is 5 inches, and the large pizza is 6 inches. So now what is the diameter of the small pizza? If we want to go from radius to diameter, we're going to need to multiply by 2, because the radius is half of the diameter. So the small pizza should have a diameter of 8 inches. What's the diameter of the medium pizza? That would be 10 inches, 5 times 2. What's the diameter of the large pizza? That would be 12 inches, 6 times 12. So now what is the circumference of each pizza? So the small pizza has what circumference? Well, circumference equals diameter times pi. So circumference equals, here's my diameter, 8 times 3.14. And when we do 8 times 3.14, we get 25. And we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so 25.1, and this is in inches, just regular inches. What's the circumference of the medium pizza? Again, circumference equals diameter times pi, so circumference is going to equal diameter is 10 times pi, so 10 times 3.14, When we multiply 10 times 3.14, we get 31 4/10 inches. What's the circumference of the large pizza? Again, circumference equals diameter times pi. So the circumference is 12 for the diameter times 3.14. And when we multiply 12 times 3.14, we get 37 7/10 inches. And I'm rounding up there to the nearest tenth. Now let's find the areas. What's the area of the small pizza? The formula for area is pi times radius squared. Or if it helps you, just write out pi times radius times radius. So we're going to use pi, 3.14, times the radius, which is 4, times the radius again. Or you can think of it as area is 3.14 times 16, since 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to use some parentheses here to make this a little clearer. So 3.14 times 16 would be, this area is 50 2/10 inches squared because it's area. What's the area for the medium pizza? Again, area is pi r squared. So area equals 3.14 times the radius squared. The radius is 5, so 5 squared. So area is 3.14. 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25. So we're going to do 3.14 times 25, and that would get us to an area of 78.5 inches squared. What's the area of the large pizza? Again, area is pi r squared. If you're not writing out the formula every time, I would really encourage you to do so, because one of our specific standards for 7th grade is that you know these formulas. So these are formulas that you need to have memorized. So area equals pi, 3.14, times the radius, 6, squared. So area equals 3.14 times 6, which is 36. And when we do 3.14 times 36, we get an area of 113, and it's 0.0, so you can just say 113 inches squared. Describe the two-dimensional figure formed by each type of slice of the square prism. Notice we said this is a square prism, so that means that the base, this side, and this side, they're the same length because it's a square prism. So what will we form? What two-dimensional figure would be formed by a vertical slice? Well, a vertical slice is going to go up and down. It's going to be perpendicular to the base, so it's going to look kind of like this here. And we're going to be cutting this right straight down. And so if you imagine cutting through from the top to the bottom and then pulling it apart, you would be looking at a shape that looks like this. So that would be a rectangle. What if we did a horizontal slice? This time we would be cutting from side to side in a direction parallel to the base. So now I'm cutting like this. So what two-dimensional shape would we see then if we cut right through here and then open it up? We would see this shape right here, which would look just like the base, and this is a square. What shape would we see if we did a slanted slice? Well, you can kind of imagine, I know it's a little tricky to draw this one here, but this would be kind of cutting through at an angle to make a slanted slice. And so if you kind of picture, again, opening that up, you would see something that looks kind of like this. It might not be quite as long as our rectangle up above, but it should be approximately that shape. So you would imagine you would see a rectangle. Now you might talk about cutting that in a slightly different way. It is possible that would be a little bit different than that, or maybe some type of quadrilateral if it's not being cut exactly like that. But it's important to know it's cutting through 4 surfaces, so it should be making some type of quadrilateral. All right, that's it for your homework for tonight. Remember, next week we're going to continue to talk about the area and circumference of circles. So if you don't quite understand those concepts, those would be good to review on your own. Make sure you're checking the blog for classwork keys and thinking about what you need to really review before our test coming up next week. And if you're going to be gone early for spring break, please make sure you make arrangements to get the unit review a little bit early
and also to take your test a little bit early so we can make sure that you can have a homework-free, relaxing spring break. All right, we'll see you Monday.